Hi, I'm Daniel Shanahan with New Leaf Data, and in this video we're going to continue working with this application that I have called FM Task. It's a task management tool for Teams, and it will be available shortly. But in the process of making it available, I wanted to make some changes to it. When I had built it, there were some things I built and I went back and realized I didn't like them. So in this series, we're working on how the alerts are handled. I didn't care for the way that I designed and scripted the alerts. So this is a series of Script FileMaker with me. If you haven't seen the previous videos, look at those first. I'm going to jump in, so you might get lost if you haven't seen those. Here's a list of things we want to do. I want to talk a little bit about a design update. That's where I have the filters. And then here's our to-do for scripting. We're actually going to get into the scripting now. So much of scripting, really in FileMaker, since everything is coupled together, the design, the database, and the scripting, so much relies upon each other. So we really needed to do the design work first before we could go into scripting. But we are ready for scripting, and here's what we're going to do. We need to add a button to open a card window. Let me set this off to the side. When I click on one of these rows, I would like a card window to pop up. I want to script so that when I click on this viewed checkbox, I want this line to disappear. I don't want to see the viewed anymore. I don't want it just to go away right away. That'll be a sort of that would be a hard toggle on the eyes, I think. So I'd like it to linger for about 2 seconds. We want to script the filters. Here is the finished filter of what I have, and I have these buttons right here. So all of these need to be scripted. And when I click on these filters, I'll see just the @me. Currently I'm logged in as Patsy. So when I click the @me, it'll show just the @Patsy's. I want to click all the new messages, so that would include the @me's, but all of these messages as well. And then I need a way to view the messages that have been marked as done. That's the viewed messages. That has to get scripted. And then finally, script the alerts in the top navigation. I still don't have a way to get to this layout, and that happens once I click this. When I click this, you can see it goes to the old layout. So that needs to get scripted. Also, I have this note here for the quantities. When something is added to the list, I want this quantity to increment up, and then when an item is viewed, I want it to decrement or to be less. Then the last thing I need this to do is when I click on this, I want it to show me only those things for the logged in user. When I look at this list, you could see that we have an @mention for Hakeem. I don't want anybody else's @mentions to show up, and I only want them to show up if they're on the team. So those are the things we need to do. And but first, let's start with this filter design update. In the mock-up, I had this space for the column headers, and I also had this space for the filter, and it worked fine for the mock-up, but it doesn't always translate. The mock-up doesn't always translate into the finished product. So once I put it in here, I realized two things. First of all, this filter, it's just so busy up in this section. So I have this filter, and it's nice that the user can see what can be filtered, but it is just a strain on the eye. And I tried to move it. I have it here on the right. I also moved it on the left, and I didn't like it. It just was so busy. The other problem that I had was that I needed to make this space larger so that the filter could fit in there. But then I lost the shadow aspect of this. There's still a shadow, but the gradient stretched, and now I think it looks ugly. So I didn't like that. So the next thing I tried was I just put the icon here And that solved my problem of having this busyness. Now it does mean that the user has to have 2 clicks. So that's a trade-off. But I'm willing to make that trade-off for the sake of design. So the user will have to do 2 clicks in order to see the options. But I still have this big space, and I still lost that gradient. And so I thought, well, if I can move that icon down, that might be helpful. And I did move the icon down, and I thought it would be best if I included a word with it in the icon. So there's not just the icon, but it also has a word. And the dot 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 is sometimes you will see the dot dot dots. Let's see, like something here will tell the user that there's another that you're not done. Just when you click that, there's going to be something else to happen, and that's what I'm shooting for here. Okay, so that takes care of the filter. Let's move into that first script that we need to write. What I want to do with this script is when I click on this record, I would like a card window to pop up. Let's see. So the first thing we could do is we can come over to the task. Really, any of these all have a button on them. So I can grab that button. I'll just copy that and get rid of that layout. Let's see, I don't want to do that. So I have to, so now trying to get this button right here. Okay. So I'm not sure where that button is. I'm going to come over to my objects. Here's my button. And really what I want it to do is line up here. And I could see that 95 and 133 is where that is. So if I click on that button, I want that to be 95. Okay, and 133. Good. Okay, so that we need to rewrite that script. So let's come over here. I'm going to put that in the activity log, and I want to and the first thing I'm going to do is exit the script. You don't need to do this. I cover this in a previous video, but I do it. This script is going to be so short, I'm not going to, usually I put some kind of explanation here about the script. The script is going to be so short we don't need it. Let's see, so I do want to pass in the task ID. I'm going to put that as a parameter here so I know I'm expecting. Set that variable. Let's get this on screen. Task ID, and I am in activity log task ID. I'll pass that in. And I don't need to do this. I'm going to have the card window open. I don't need to name it, but it's not a bad idea to do, and it can be helpful if you find yourself later on having to manage your windows. It's nice to have names for them. So I'll just do that. I'm using alert and activity log interchangeably. That's going to be, I don't think that'll display, but anyways, I'll just leave it at that. Okay, now I want a new window, and that window name is going to be window name, and it will be a card window. And I'm going to keep these open for now, and I always keep that open until I test. I don't want to get caught in the card window. Let's see. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Now when I go to I don't. I better tell it where I want it to go. I have to choose a layout, task, card. Okay, now it's just going to go to the first task that's related. No, it's not even related. It's just going to go to the first task. I really have to find the correct card window. So I'll enter find mode and set my field. Remember, I'm in the task table now, and I'll do that to task ID. And I'm going to set that to task ID. Now really, I'm going to go back here for a minute, and on my layout, I want just a little bit off screen. I'm filtering this. I want to go to my developer table. I sometimes call it a data table, even though this is not data separation model. But I want to go to that data table because the data table is used just for development, just for scripting, and there are no triggers at all on there, and usually very few layout objects. So while I'm in the process of finding it, I could go there, enter find mode, set the field. I need to do the perform find. I have on occasion created a find and forgot to add the perform find script step. It happens. So now that should be fine. That should work. In fact, it will work. But what we might want to do is what is the possibility that somebody has deleted that task? Now, we could set it up so that when somebody deletes a task, we could also delete the related activity. That would be, in fact, we might do that. It might already be set up that way. But just to verify that we're on the right one, we might want to just double check this. So, the other thing is, since we're going to do a find, let's set our error capture, and we'll take care of all the errors, and that's what we're going to do now. Yuck. Okay, so now I want to get the found count. Since I'm grabbing the primary key, there should only be one. Then let me think about this for a second. Do this slightly differently. If let's say if it's 1, then we're already there in the environment we want. We're in our card window. But if it's not 1, it's either 0 or it has many. That if we're doing a search for a primary key and we return many records, there's a problem. I'm not going to delve into that, but there's a big problem. Should never, ever, ever happen. So let's just say that we don't have our 1. So let's leave the user a message, and then we'll close the window. Not clear. We will close the window. And what window are we going to close? Now since we're in a card window environment, we could leave it as current window. Card window is the primary focus of the layout at the moment. However, I'm going to add that. You don't need to do this, but I'm going to do it. Okay, so we have so let's we need to don't know what I want to tell the user. Okay, did I get rid of that? All right, get rid of that. Okay, we'll tighten it up. Okay, good. That looks like a pretty good script to me. This is really, it's a tiny script, really. So I don't, everything I need to know is in the title. I'm creating some variables here. I don't need to say that I'm creating variables. That's obvious. I'm going to open up the card window here. I'm going to I'm going to verify it. I think it's good. Okay, it came down here. I want to post it up here. And let's set this button to that. And that should be above there. So here's in my scripts, I like things to be alphabetical. That's not alphabetical, so that's going to bother me. I thought I set it right above here. Okay. Good. Now let's test it. We're going to open it up in the debugger. Let's bring the debugger online here. And we're looking for whirl at tulips. Turpis. Hard to read that lorem ipsum. Okay. So first of all, I'm going to open up the data viewer and see what my variables are. So a task ID, I don't really know what the task ID is on these, but one, I was able to pass one. No, I didn't pass one. It just pulled it because it's on that record. Because I'm not passing it, I'm going to change that. Let me stop that. I would use that, this is my naming convention. I would keep this. This tells me what I should be passing in, and that passing in would happen here at this stage, in this parameter. But I don't need to pass in the task ID. I could, but I don't need to because I'm already on the record. And so I'm just going to clean this up a little bit. Every developer does things slightly differently. And let's go back to this. Task ID in window. Here's my task ID window name. Good, that popped in. Okay. I want a new card window. There's my new card window. It goes to the task ID. At the moment, during this development stage, I have the task. You could see it through here. I have this set up in a table view. I'm going to change that into a detail view and get rid of all those fields. So because you don't want to do this in a task view or a list view, then it has to pull all of that data from the server. Not all the data. I think it pulls like 25 or 30 at a time. Okay, so we'll change that later, but right now it worked. That's where I want it to go. I'm going to enter find mode. I can see in the background it does this. I could do this task, perform find. It finds there's 1 in there. The found count is 1. And oh, you know what I didn't do is because I was doing this in the data or the developer environment. That's where we're going to stay, and I didn't change. That's what my else should be in there. That's why we run it through the script debugger. And that's why I keep this open. So I can quickly get rid of that. Let's open up that script else. And no, I'm going to change this now because I want the condition. I want to hit a true statement as soon as possible. So now I'm going to change this. Sort of doing this off the cuff, and that's what happens. So this is my else statement. Else, okay, and then come here. Now I want to navigate to the layout, and the layout I want is this task. See, and I don't know. I might have to resize that layout too, since both of these layouts are built on the same table occurrence, then we should be all set with the found set. Let's change that. I think I'm going to have to change my because it won't know. Let me just do that. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. It's going to take when it goes to the card window, it's going to take the size from here. and I want it to take the size from here. Resize window. Oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Adjust window. Alright, that's what I want. Let's run that again. Here we are. So now we're on our card window, and I can see that here's the @ mention that was on my alert. That's why I'm here. And I should be able to hit the escape key, and that takes it away. Let's go to one up here, POSDM. It has 3. I can hit the escape key. Can I do this one with Hakeem? Yes, I can. Now remember, I don't want to even see this @ mention for somebody else, but it's good to know that it works. Okay, so now I can get rid of this X because I know that, well, I hit the escape key. Let me just test this button, and it works too. Okay, so now I can come in here. Okay, that's the script. That's going to do it for this video, and I'll create another video on these other scripts that I want to make.